good time to record this as I got this little guy here. Based on that post, an extension of that post I did earlier this morning where the 16-year-old girl saved a grown man from a kayak lake accident, towed him to shore, and the gentleman lived. And so when I read that, I see a couple different things come off of that. One, it's the responsibility of all of us to be able to save ourselves, to be able to pull ourselves out of whatever situation we've chosen that we've gotten ourselves into, because it was all a choice. Everything is a choice, even including the things that happen to you. You've chosen. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but there can be no blame. Number two, if somebody extends a graceful hand or a courteous hand and helps you in any way, or you get an assist in any way, like this gentleman getting to shore, it is then your responsibility again to save yourself. So at no time do we ever save anybody, or is there ever a salvation through somebody other than yourself. It is truly you with you. Even the 16-year-old girl that did the saving, she now gets to go in and assess how she is, to then understand more about herself. And what if she was him? Or what if she wasn't able to pull him? Or what if she opted to offer help and the help ended up being so much that it dragged her out and she left, the both of them chose to leave? Like, there's so many different things with this, but what I want, something that's not being said in society at all, now more than ever, is if you want to climb to the fifth ladder, the fifth rung on the ladder, you have to be able to survive and adapt to a fall from like the 8th or 10th step of the ladder. Sorry about that, call came through. You have to be able to handle getting to the 8th or 10th rung and being able to fall from it, survive at those circumstances at that level. We don't do that. If you want to swim out and kayak out to 2 miles out, you have to be able to handle being stranded 6 to 8 miles out. We don't do that. If you want to throw 100 pitches on game day, you have to be prepared now to be able to handle 300 to 500 at the greatest extent, emotional, mental, intellectual, spiritual, chemical, vibrational, electrical, that you could ever do. If you want to be able to hold a massive amount of relational love or caring or exchange, you have to be able to handle, more than what you want. And that level of preparation or standard or existence has to be kept across the board. That is not at all how we live. We live to where we want to work for the first rung but live at the fifth. And then when we fall from the fifth, everything falls out of, we don't even understand how we got to the fifth. We don't understand what it's like to be to the fifth level. And then we're just needing to, hey, can somebody out there put me back on that fifth level? And there's nothing wrong if people want to help or want to save, but then once you get there, you just continue to fall. And each time it gets worse and worse and worse, because you never went through the steps that are required to get you to a point to be able to handle the 8th to 10th rung. And so again, we see this in medicine, we see it in rehab, we see it in training, we see it in finance and real estate and schools and engineering, and it's a universal law that you learn through healing symptoms and through injuries. That's why healing responses are there, is to teach you about this whole thing going on around you, teach you about these laws and rules. We don't live that way. And you can tell we don't live that way because of how we handle symptoms and injuries. We want someone to save us, someone to cut it out. We want to live at the fifth rung, but we don't want to do any of the stuff. We don't want to be responsible for anything. We don't want to be accountable for anything. We want everyone to get us. I want us to give me hormone therapy so I can live at 5, even though I only have the capacity to survive and handle 1. I have injuries all over my body. Give me everything that I can to live at 5, but I don't have the capacity to climb a ladder or a surgery to cut out, save me. So here's the deal. It's not saying that you participating in any of these methods or surgeries or courtesies that people may extend you, but that wasn't in that salvation or in that assist. Then comes you doing more work because you accepted the assist. And I've said this before, if you want to wear a bike helmet, you then are responsible for preparing your body beyond. You have to push limits beyond because you chose the bike helmet. You chose the assist of protection. You want to wear a seatbelt. You have to be able to drive a car as if nobody in the car has any seatbelt at all. But that's not what the case is. We now have seatbelt. We now have foam rubber everywhere that shoots out everywhere so that you literally have to you just drive and whatever happens. And so again, if you do get an assist, like a surgery or like a procedure or like a drug or like a supplement or herb or like all the rules being broken in medicine today, to abide by you breaking those rules and owning that, because your authentic self's going to come back and tell you that you broke massive fucking rules. It's going to bring you back to having to go through what you had to go through before you had the organ cut out, or before you had the ligament transferred, or before you had all this stuff. It needs you to go back through those. So get an assist, but then do even more work. That's why anybody that works with me that's post-op or pre-op, laying that down and getting them to understand that is critical. I lived with my sister twice. She extended me the courtesy of allowing me to live with her 2 times. Once when I moved to Chicago, and then second when I went back to chiropractic school, and then graduated. So what was the whole point? To give me some breathing room, to allow me to catch my breath so that I had lower expenses as I'm starting to understand the new community or the new city I'm living in, or the new profession that I'm expanding my previous one with. So now what did I do? The first time I moved to Chicago and she extended me this, I was living in her basement. I had 3 jobs by the next day. The alternative to that would be like, oh my God, I don't have to pay rent. I get to live here. Oh, I'm not going to get a job like for a while. I got some time here. I got some cush. I got some. And then you're going to have to face what that approach does, because it's a law. It's a law that you now have to face the down regulation that you took by choosing ease. The body adapts as fast to struggles as it does to ease. You don't like what it does when it adapts to ease, but whether or not you like it doesn't mean the body doesn't do it. And so again, it grows bone or it uses bone as energy. You might not like that it uses bone, but if it didn't use bone mass to keep you here, you wouldn't be here. And they both happen at the exact same pace. So it's not, well, it takes so much time to build up bone. No, it's not just bone remodeling or bone being used as fuel. The processes are body-wide, and they are exactly the same speed both ways. Exactly the same speed. Light speed. Healing is light speed. And so again, get assists. Ask for help. Drowning, I said this before, somebody drowning, all of medicine will save somebody drowning, and then they paddle you over to another sinking boat and put you on that sinking boat. And you're like, hell yeah. Which, if you understand that whatever form of medicine you choose brings you only to another sinking ship, and then while you're on that sinking ship, you've got some time to assess and go, holy shit, I gotta jump off this fucking boat and swim to a land, or swim out and build my own island. Owning that's part of the medicine that comes from all the bullshit medicine that's out there now from a licensed or coaching standpoint, is the medicine from medicating your life through all of the forms of medicine being offered right now, licensed and degreed and certified, is realizing that none of it works ever, and that it's just bringing you to another sinking ship. So again, there's power in anything, up to the level that you choose to see it as and hold yourself accountable to. So if you want to live at the 5th rung of a ladder, you're going to have to live in a way that holds you to a standard of living to the 8th or 10th, being able to fall from the 8th or 10th. That's why there's so much power in failure. There's so much power in loss. There's so much power in the struggle that all industries are capitalizing on trying to eliminate, and then the beauty of the human spirit is coming in all industries, not just sports or injuries or medicine or healing responses or cancers or autoimmune or neurodegenerative, cardiac or brain or oncology, like all the stuff. No, it's just, there's not more disease, there's not more injuries, there's just more healing responses, bringing people back to themselves. That's all it is, because we continue to break these rules of people capitalizing on making life very, very easy for you in this salvation standpoint, because we villainize everything. When there's a villain, we can create salvation and a savior. And when there's a savior, we can sell the savior. And then all of a sudden you get these little 3-month spurts of controlled flare-ups. I felt better. I stretched. I iced. I felt better. I had this cut out. I felt better. I had hormone replacement therapy, which is just birth control repackaged. I felt better. I did therapies. I did surgeries. I did counseling. I did all the stuff. I felt better. And then everything got radically worse afterwards, or all other systems went haywire. It didn't go haywire. It was just bringing you back to where you needed to see what you needed to see at the first time that it ever happened. So, again, nothing wrong with wanting to live at the 5th rung, right? Or leave the entire ladder system totally. Create your own. But you have to hold yourself to that level. And so again, inspired by that story of that badass little 16-year-old girl that saved that grown fucking man that tipped in a lake in a kayak. I don't know, that gentleman's got something to think about. All of them. But again, when I read stories like that, then I get inspired to then hold myself to a standard of, if I want to swim out past the break or swim out past surf or surf for an hour, hour and a half, I have to be able to handle being swept out 3 times that, 4 times that. I always like to hold myself to a 3 or 4 standard. Now that the world's going to lowering their standards, I always raise them. So go 5 times. So again, you want to play 4 quarters, you got to be prepared for 20. You want to pitch 100 baseballs on game day, that's ultimately, with warm-ups and everything else, it's like 200 to 300, so you got to be able to handle 1,000. You want to handle a relationship at this level, you got to be handled 5 times that. You want to be able to travel, you got to be able to travel 5 times that. You want to take on a project, you got to handle 5 times that. So the 5 times rule. And nobody's going to save you but you, including if you have extended the courtesy of a salvation hand of some kind. Even if it brings you to another sinking ship, own it. It's fully responsible. You're responsible. Now for me to go find some more bees.